Parenting is a journey, right? But what happens when you're doing it at the crossroads of the world? Today, we're diving into what it's like to be a cross-cultural parent, especially in a place as vibrant and global as Dubai. So, this is the big question for so many families here, isn't it? In a city that's just buzzing with different languages and cultures, how do you give your kids a really stable sense of who they are? That's the puzzle we're going to try and piece together today. And this really gets to the heart of the paradox. I mean, on one hand, your kids have this amazing global playground, new friends, new perspectives. But on the other hand, for parents, it can feel like you're trying to untangle this knot of competing values and expectations, sometimes right inside your own home. And that brings us to what we can call Dubai's parenting paradox. Let's really unpack the unique things at play here and why this multicultural setting can create such a distinct set of challenges for families. So, does any of this sound familiar to you? Maybe you're juggling a few languages at the dinner table, or maybe you and your partner have totally different ideas about discipline, based on how you were raised. Perhaps you're an expat and you feel that distance from your family back home, all while you're trying to help your kids figure out their own identity. If you're nodding along right now, you know these aren't just ideas, they're your day-to-day life. So, what does it actually feel like to be caught between cultures? Let's take a look at some of those common friction points, the ones that can create some real tension if you don't tackle them head on. Okay, first up, the discipline dilemma. So think about it. One parent might come from a culture with a really strict, authoritative style, but the other prefers a much more gentle, talk-it-out approach. For a kid caught in the middle of that, those mixed signals are more than just confusing. They can actually chip away at the consistency they desperately need to feel secure. And then there's the values gap. Your child goes to an international school, right? They're soaking up all these global ideas, but then they come home and you're trying to pass on your specific cultural traditions. It's not about one being right and one being wrong. It's about that very real tug of war that happens when these two powerful worlds pull in opposite directions. And this really highlights the emotional cost for a child. This isn't just a simple disagreement between parents. When kids feel that constant pull, it can lead to some real stress and this feeling of divided loyalty, like they have to choose one parent or one whole part of their identity over the other. But here is the good news, these challenges are not impossible to overcome. So now, let's shift and talk about solutions. And the best way to think about this is like you're building a bridge, your own unique family bridge that connects your cultures and actually turns that diversity into a massive source of strength. And there's a pretty clear path forward. It really breaks down into a simple 3-step framework. First, you've got to align on your shared core values. Second, you build communication strategies so you can navigate those differences. And third, you actively work to foster a strong, cohesive identity, not just for your kids, but for your whole family. Now, one really powerful tool for this is something called parent coaching. And look, this isn't about traditional therapy. It's a much more practical process to just help you and your partner get on the same page. The whole goal is to develop consistent practices so your child feels that stability, even if your backgrounds are worlds apart. Another key is to have a set of conflict resolution tools ready to go. Think of these as practical strategies you can pull out the moment a cultural disagreement pops up. So instead of letting it bubble up into a big fight, you have a constructive way to find that all-important common ground. Okay, so we've looked at the challenges and we've got a framework for solutions. But now, let's get even more practical and tackle some of the biggest questions that parents in this exact situation ask every single day. And this is the big one, right? What happens when your parenting styles feel like they're from completely different planets because of your cultures? It can feel like you're just stuck. Well, the answer isn't about one person winning the argument. Not at all. The real key is to focus on the common ground you do share and build out from there. Establish those consistent routines, because ultimately, that consistency is what makes a child feel safe and secure, way more than any single parenting philosophy ever could. Oh, this one is such a heart-wrenching worry for parents. It's that fear that your child, raised between all these different cultures, is going to end up feeling like an outsider everywhere, never truly belonging. The approach here is all about using the word and, not or. It's about encouraging pride in all the parts of their background, while also teaching them to embrace the incredible diversity all around them. It's not a choice they have to make. It's an integration of everything they are. Ah, yes, the external pressure. Just when you think you're getting a handle on things in Dubai, you get a call from the grandparents or relatives back home, and they just don't get it. And they're offering advice that just doesn't apply to your life here. The name of the game here is respectful boundaries. It's about having some clear strategies to manage those expectations. You can acknowledge their love, you can thank them for their concern, while also firmly and kindly sticking to the parenting choices that are right for your family, in your world. It's about honoring them, but also honoring your own household. And what about when your child starts to resist? This is so common, especially as they get older, and all they want to do is fit in with their friends. They might start pushing back on learning the language or going to cultural events. The trick is to shift from pressure to curiosity. You've got to find ways to introduce traditions that are actually fun and engaging for their age. Maybe you cook together, you share cool family stories, or celebrate holidays in a way that feels exciting, not like a chore. The goal is to spark their interest, not force it. So, as we start to wrap this up, I really want to reframe this whole conversation. I know we've spent a lot of time on the challenges and the hurdles, but the real story here is about the incredible opportunity that you have. Because you see, the goal was never to erase your cultural differences. It's about taking those unique, beautiful threads from each of your backgrounds and weaving them together to create a family fabric that's stronger, more resilient, more colorful, and more loving than it ever could have been otherwise. So I'll just leave you with this one thought to carry with you. What if this thing that feels like your family's biggest challenge is actually the very source of its greatest strength? What if navigating all these differences is exactly what's building your family's incredible resilience, its empathy, and its unique love? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.